My hot take is that you don't know if you're on the right side of history. History is written after the fact. Before the fact is, best case scenario, an educated guess. But it's still a guess. Rarely, if ever, do you find linear trajectories in history wherein you can so confidently proclaim that your point of view follows naturally from previous developments. History is messy because individual people are messy, and you multiply that by millions and millions, and you have history. History is a story of alignments, competing interests, opportunities, missed opportunities, weather, geography, misfortunes, good planning, bad planning, love and grief, and a never-ending string of surprises. So the idea of being on the right side of history is a fiction. It's a gross oversimplification of life and society into two sides, right versus left, race versus race, rich versus poor, and on and on and on. And I'll say more about that in just a minute. Look at any conflict in history from around the world. Each and every participant said they were on the right side of history, that victory was their destiny, and so forth. Even the most repugnant figures in history thought they were in the right. Any change to a past historical development would necessarily result in a different interpretation of that history. So people we consider villains today could, with a different outcome, be considered heroes, and vice versa. So what I'm saying is, this two sides only interpretation to history is ignorant and lazy. It's a philosophy called dialectic that has been used to promote confrontation, because in that paradigm, conflict and force is the only way for culture and society to evolve to a higher state. But you'll notice that without fail, that philosophy ends up in prejudice, intolerance, riots, slavery, genocide, concentration camps, gulags, and the like. Yet equally important, history is not just the discussion of conflicts such as wars and social movements and elections. History is also about diseases like the Black Plague and the Spanish flu, and natural disasters like volcanic eruptions, the Dust Bowl, and hurricanes. And ordinary people like you and me accomplishing extraordinary things. For example, Roger Bannister running the 4-minute mile, Alexander Graham Bell inventing the telephone. Under the dialectic paradigm, should we conclude that everyone who hasn't run a mile in 4 minutes or less is on the wrong side of history? Or that Hurricane Katrina was on the right side of history? And who is on the right side of history? Those committing the genocide or the victims of the genocide? Because depending on which part of history you listen to, it could land either way. But listen, I get it. This is a method of propaganda that is used to motivate an audience to choose one side of a social trend, an election, etc. But in the final analysis, who is on the right side of history depends on which side of a conflict you choose, and that's dishonest and careless. If there was such a thing as the right side of history, objectively speaking, everybody would already be on that side. There would be no wrong side of history because the right side would be so plainly evident. And we can do better, and we should expect better from ourselves and from each other. Virtues such as justice, seeking the good of another, patience, prudence, honesty, humility, responsibility, never result in the attempted eradication or subjugation or disenfranchisement of another group of people. There are no empathy gulags, nor have there ever been. Virtue builds hospitals and schools and defends the most vulnerable. Doing those things doesn't require vilifying others, in contrast to the two sides only paradigm, whose lifeblood is vilifying others. So really, the goal here is for each and every one of us to examine our consciences and to pull out by the roots those attitudes and practices that hurt ourselves and others, and replace them with attitudes and practices that are virtuous. Thereby, regardless of historical events and historical trends, you will always be on the right side. As always, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the funny paper.